Hi, so it's Tuesday. So events in my personal life, which follow the vlogs the other days, you'll know that I recently got into a sport for the first time. So I figured on Trek Tuesdays we'll talk about something that's kind of equivalent. The Star Trek equivalent of that sport. Equivalent. I mean, it's not anywhere close to it that I understand, but it's Parrises Squares! Literally the first sentence here is a vigorous and rather violent athletic game played by people from various worlds and ages during the 24th century. We don't really know much about it. In fact, Memory Beta has an idea of what the court actually looks like. It's really strange. We don't actually know much about Parrises Squares, but to most Trekkies you can say Parrises Squares and they're like, ooh, yeah. And everyone wants to play it, but nobody really wants to, and You know, the fact that it became popular amongst youth was a concern to parents, yada yada. The doctor, when he had his holographic family, his son picked up Parrises Squares, his daughter picked up Parrises Squares, she got injured, she was in a coma, she wound up dying, blah blah blah, crying. You know, this in and of itself. The really near the beginning, like the picture I showed, that was Yar and Worf and two unnamed security officers, the USS Enterprise D's Parrises Squares team. Apparently it doesn't, take too much. It's just well, as it looks like here, as you can see, elbow pads, kind of a skin-tight suit. Doesn't look like a helmet, but, could be in that little pouch, but it just looks like a gym bag. Maybe helmets at the actual court. It says the game involved 2 teams of 4 players. Substitutions were possible, which allowed teams to rotate active and resting teammates. Some players, such as Riker, disliked the practice, feeling that doing so created disruptive loss in the team's rhythm. So in like basketball, you'd say, hey, I'm only having X amount of players on the field. It's completely understandable to have one extra, but when you have such a small team like that, you want to keep them all definitely in rhythm, especially with Parrises Squares, and it's so vigorous, or at least it's described as vigorous. Because we've never seen it played, so we don't really know. Always talked about, which is a literary device that allows the audience to formulate what it is. It's highly dangerous. You gotta be on your game, apparently, or you can seriously injure yourself. Starbase 74 had a Parrises Square team right there. 11001001, the Binars episode. That's when that one happened. That was, like I said, near the beginning when Yar was still alive. Yeah, while healing a cut from William Riker's face that he got from Spot, Crusher's like, stop playing Parrises Squares if you're 21. She continued dispensing advice. One day you'll break your neck and I won't be able to heal that as easily. So apparently it's a thing for the young, but not the completely young, not teenagers. Or even kids, which one could say the same thing about football. You've got like high schoolers, and that's okay. And if you had more of a, like, let's learn the game sort of thing in junior high, that'd be fine. But sometimes you got kids going down and I've got to get a little bit more into it. Anyways, back to Star Trek. I'll link to this entire article because I'm basically picking out points to say. Paris Ensign Freddie Bristow played a mean set of Parrises Squares. Lieutenant B'Elanna Torres, however, was not impressed, stating that she had played one game with him and whipped him. So apparently, you can play it on Voyager. In a fictional future, Barash's avatar, Jean-Luc Riker, broke his wrist playing Parrises Squares. The elder Riker was displeased that Jean-Luc was playing Parrises Squares at his age, and the kid was like 10 to 12, maybe 14. So definitely a pretty violent game. And there's like a whole list of athletes. And now let's jump over to Memory Beta. I'll put this link down there too. Sometimes finding things on Memory Beta is a little weird because it's all non-canon stuff. So it's still really useful. And I think all of the stuff that's on Memory Alpha is on Memory Beta and then some. But if you don't know already what's on Memory Alpha, it's hard to separate. Because it's like there's a Dyson Sphere section of Memory Beta. There's just like on Memory Alpha. But Memory Beta is going to have like all the various things that a book said about a Dyson Sphere, or background for relics, or Star Trek Online with the Solanae Dyson Sphere and what they're used for, yada yada. Known players. There's a bunch of other sports too. I mean, there's Velocity. Janeway and 7 of 9 played that, but that's just that's a shooting game. you know, the thing floats around and you gotta shoot it. Not the firing range that you saw like Gaiden and War Fun, which is just 2 colors and you gotta, whatever, and that's just shoot the dot. That's pretty much that. I figured, you know, hey, Parrises Squares, dangerous sport. I'm kind of playing one of the more vigorous sports, at least what most people think of as a vigorous sport in real life. So that's pretty much that. I mean, obviously if Parrises Squares has got to have some sort of headgear, if it's supposed to be vigorous and more violent than, you know, football. Anyways, I will catch y'all next week. Hopefully Aaron will be back once we get this new schedule whipped up and whatnot. Like I said, comment below if you want to know anything. I will research the crap out of it. And I will, you know, if it requires much more information from a non-canon site, I will check out Memory Beta. While it is entirely possible you guys can look at all of this stuff yourself, sometimes just ask me, comment below. Say, hey, what can you tell me about, I don't know, why does, you know, the warp core or the warp field, why does Voyager's nacelles fold up, or, you know, and nobody else's does? Why is it only the Intrepid class? Well, there's a reason behind that one, but I will, if you're curious, I will bring that up next week. Or not. Or you can just ask about various other things. Borg technology, Romulan cloaking. I mean, you know, sometimes there isn't enough information. You know, it's not a perfect universe. It's not real. Yet. Bye! What I'm going to be talking about is a little bit of Star Trek Online and how I've been dealing with the Dyson sphere and the Solanae Dyson sphere and stuff.